This is your read-along for 3.09, Art of Ancient Rome 1. How did ancient Rome evolve over 1,000 years from a small village of straw and mud huts to a vast empire? It began with two men. Legend has it that two men named Romulus and Remus founded Rome on the summit of a hill called the Palatine. Roman citizens eventually created a republic in which they elected representatives as leaders. The powerful Roman army conquered many rivals, and by 146 BC, the Roman Republic ruled most of the land that surrounded the Mediterranean Sea. After the first 500 years, problems arose in the government, and the people were unhappy. A young general named Julius Caesar rose to power and declared himself dictator for life. For the next 500 years, Rome was an empire led by a series of ambitious emperors. Explore the village to empire activity on the next screen to see the expansion of Rome. This is the village to empire activity. The Romans made significant and lasting contributions to government, art, and culture. They developed a representative government elected by the people and an organized system of law that influenced many Western governments. The people of ancient Rome were inspired by the Greeks and adapted much of their art, architecture, and culture to form a uniquely Roman aesthetic. Roman artists and architects created artworks and architecture that glorified the emperors and the gods. The Romans also invented a revolutionary building material, concrete. The Romans were among history's greatest builders. Whenever you see a building with a rounded arch, like this one, you're looking at a design the Romans perfected. Roman architects built temple complexes for worship and constructed civic structures for entertainment and transportation. Their architecture reflects not only their strong religious beliefs, but their belief in the importance of humans. The Romans also expressed their belief in humankind's values through myths, stories of people interacting with gods. Sometimes people influence the gods, and sometimes the gods exercise their force over the people. The Romans borrowed many gods directly from Greek mythology and gave them Roman names. The Greek god Zeus became Jupiter, and Aphrodite became Venus. All roads lead to Rome. Why did more than 50,000 miles of roads lead to Rome? Because Rome was the center of the Roman Empire. By the 2nd century AD, Rome was at its height of power, and the population swelled to more than 1 million citizens. An extensive system of roads helped Roman armies move swiftly, and also increased travel, communication, and trade across Roman territories. The Via Sacra, or Sacred Road, led through the imperial forums of Rome. A forum is a great center containing temples, administrative buildings called basilica, markets, royal residences, arenas, and triumphal arches. You can see the Arch of Titus in the distance in this photograph right here. Roman emperors hired the best architects and artists to beautify Rome. They built roads, aqueducts, and bridges, and refurbished temples and theaters to demonstrate the glory and the power of the empire. Roman citizens flocked to the city center to conduct their business, law, government, and religion. The Romans transformed architecture with a simple material, concrete. The incredibly strong substance that enabled architects to design buildings that did not need internal support. Free of the restrictions of post and lintel construction, architects designed massive buildings with rounded arches, domes, barrel vaults, and cross-barrel vaults. Using those forms, Romans created grand passageways and lofty open interiors. Inside domes, light flooded through the oculus, right here, or central opening. Arches, vaults, and domes are distinguishing characteristics of Roman architecture and help you tell whether an ancient building is Roman. Think of buildings that you've seen that incorporate these forms. Roman architects admired the beauty and the variety of Greek columns. They frequently used the Greek Corinthian columns in their buildings. They also borrowed the design elements from Greek Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian columns to create two distinctly Roman column designs widely used by modern architects. The simple Tuscan column is inspired by the Doric order. Roman sculptors added the pedestal and left the shaft smooth. For the more ornate composite column, they added moldings that combined decorative Ionic spiral scrolls with detailed Corinthian foliage. The Pantheon was created around 125 AD during the reign of Emperor Hadrian. Built on the site of an old temple, it was dedicated to Pantheos, or all the gods. Roman architects combined elements of Greek architecture with innovative design to create one of the most influential buildings in architectural history. They modeled the entrance after a traditional Greek temple. 8 Corinthian columns support a triangular pediment. Here's the columns, and here is the triangular pediment, with 16 more columns on the interior. Bronze doors, once covered in gold, flanked the entry. Behind the traditional entrance, however, the architects built a massive concrete cylinder covered by a huge dome. The Pantheon architects created a seemingly simple structure using complex engineering principles. To support the weight of the massive concrete dome, the cylinder-shaped wall beneath the dome built was 25 feet thick. The rough concrete and brick surface of the temple has a thin marble veneer that effectively disguises the structural work beneath. The Pantheon architects created a building of great beauty and unity by repeating simple shapes and forms. And if you hit play, you can watch a little video about it. The Pantheon's huge dome encloses a vast open space unencumbered by columns or supports, a design that was revolutionary for its time. Measuring 142 feet in height and diameter, the dome remained the largest of its kind for more than 1,000 years. Craftsmen made the heavy concrete dome lighter by carving square coffers, that's what these are, which are recessed panels in bands circling the domes. The coffers were once decorated with gilded rosettes that represented the heavens and drew the eye upward towards the oculus, which again is this hole. At 30 feet in diameter, the oculus was the Pantheon's only light source. Beams of sunlight stream across the coffered dome on sunny days, and central floor drained to remove the rainwater. Architects lined the Pantheon's interior concrete walls with a thin veneer of richly colored marble. They created niches in the walls, framed by columns supporting alternating triangular and semicircle pediments that originally housed sculptures of the gods. The interior has a sense of unity, in part because of the simple repetition of the square against the circle. And you can click through here and see pictures of some of the things that we talked about. Imagine traveling the roads of ancient Rome and coming upon a towering structure such as the Art of Titus. Often placed on roads leading into or out of cities, the Romans built triumphal arches as monuments to commemorate war victories and glorify their emperors. Triumphal arches were a form of propaganda, announcing to the entire world the might of the empire and might of the emperor and all of the Roman Empire. Monumental in scale and characteristically Roman, these freestanding structures combine architecture and sculpture. Early examples were modest arches made from brick or stone. Later, architects expanded the arch to create more elaborate barrel vaults, topped by a flat structure known as an attic. Massive bronze sculptures crowned the attic, and the dedication was typically inscribed on the front. The simple, elegant Roman script used for the dedication has become a standard for modern type. Emperor Domitian commissioned the art of Titus in AD 81 to commemorate the capture of Jerusalem in AD 70 by his brother Titus, the previous emperor. Domitian chose the highest point of the Via Scara, leading to the imperial forms, to locate this symbol of triumph. Craftsmen built two huge concrete piers more than 50 feet tall to support a single barrel vault. A massive sculpture of chariot and rider with 4 horses was called a quadriga, once topped the attic. Sculptors carved purely decorative composite columns to frame the central arch and define the corners. The dedication carved into the attic states that the arch was built to honor the deceased Emperor Titus, who was worshipped as a god by the time of the arch's completion. When you walk beneath the Arch of Titus, you see 2 marble relief sculptures on either side. They tell the story of Titus's victory of Jerusalem during the Jewish wars. One relief sculpture, Spoils from the Temple in Jerusalem, carries the drama of the Roman soldiers carting off the spoils of Jerusalem's second temple after victory. The menorah, a 7-branch ceremonial candelabra, is the most prominent of the treasures. You can click through here and see close-ups. There's the menorah. Roman sculptors skillfully created the illusion of movement in space. The lively parade of soldiers appears to move across the relief as figures emerge from the left background, seem to get closer in the center foreground, and then recede through the arch on the right. Sculptors varied the depth of the carving to make some areas appear closer than others. Some of those areas have cracked off because of such deep undercutting. High relief is relief sculpture that has deep undercutting so that the figures appear detached from the flat background stone. These figures are realistic and natural, characteristics of ancient Roman sculpture. And if you watch this, it'll tell you a little bit more about this relief sculpture. After the Romans carried away their spoils, Titus led a victory procession through Rome. The Triumph of Titus portrays a less chaotic scene, with the winged goddess Victory riding alongside Titus and placing a wreath on his head. This relief represents a turning point in Roman narrative sculpture. It is one of the first examples in which Romans depicted an interaction between humans and gods. Sculptors created a sense of depth by using varying degrees of low and high relief and overlapping the figures. The figures and horses look natural and realistic with lifelike proportion. And then through your text, you can do these activities and finish up.